If you follow this channel, then firstly, thank you. But secondly, you will probably know that I've been running a set of Denali D7 Pros on my Africa Twin, run through a Hex EZCan. Those lights have been phenomenal, absolutely love them. However, I have been given the opportunity to try these out, the Lone Rider Motolights. Essentially, they do the same thing, but in a different way. So I'm going to get these on the bike, show you how differently they connect, what you can do in terms of setting them up on the laptop, and then show you what they're actually like out on the road. If you compare them side by side, they are a similar size. The Denali D7 Pro is slightly deeper, but not by very much. But the difference is when you look at the wires that come from the back, the Denali has two, the Lone Rider only has one. But that's a good thing, and I'll show you why. That one connector goes into the white circuit, which is the EZBus circuit. And that means from that one single circuit, you can control these 4 flood LEDs at the top, these 4 main beams here, the long reach center LED, plus the orange or white DRL that runs around the outside, which all of that can be set up within the software just using that one single connector. That means that suddenly I've got 3 spare circuits on the EZCan, so if I want to connect a horn, power for a sat nav, or a plug for heated clothing, I've got that capability to do that. So when you look at the EZCan with the D7 Pros connected, you can kind of ignore that white circuit because I've got the easy switch plugged into that. And I'll put a link again up in the top corner if you want to go away and look at that video to see what that's all about. But if we ignore this one, I've got 3 circuits that are being used. Now I said that there's 2 wires that come out of the back of the D7 Pros. That's because one controls the 3 center LEDs, the other circuit controls the outer ones. So what that means, the 2 wires for the outer lights I can connect into a single circuit with a splitter. The other circuits are run independently, so that means to get the setup that I've got with the indicators in the middle and the main beam on the outside, I've got to use 3 circuits. This video is being brought to you with the support of BikeSure. BikeSure are an independent insurance company that have been around for 30 years, and they pride themselves on treating every customer as an individual. Whether you're riding something standard like this Africa Twin, or something a little bit more unusual, a grey import, a trike, a quad, or even a Chinese scooter. Hit the link in the description below to find out more and get a quote that's tailored specifically for your setup. Right, I'm not going to take you through the full installation because I've done that before, and obviously that's only really relevant if you have an Africa Twin. If you do have an Africa Twin though, I will say it's very easy. You can just run the cable up through a gap in the plastic. Then if you just take this center section out, I've got a cable coming up from here, cable coming up from here from the lights. There's a wire splitter joining those 2 together. That comes in the kit, and then that one wire runs to the back, plugs into the EZCan. Really, really simple. You've only got to route it down one side. It will take you no time at all. The actual fitting of these is really simple. I already had this mounting bar on the Africa Twin. This is a Denali light mount. So all I did was unbolt the D7s and bolted these on. You'll see that I decided to bolt them underneath. I think that looks good, but the reason I've done that is because this bar actually isn't designed for this model of bike. It's for the previous Africa Twin Adventure Sports, and this change in fairing means that actually there's not a lot of room. I did make a little bracket to kick them out so that the D7s can mount here, but you can see they have been rubbing on the bodywork. To adjust it, there's 2 little bolts on the side, and that gives you the ability to change that angle. Obviously I'll do that once it's off the center stand and the bike is level and I can work out where that needs to be, and then just nip those up. But I think they look pretty damn good. So that's all into place now. Let's have a look at what's happening down at the EZCan end. So as you can see at this end, much simpler. I've just got that one single cable connected to both lights into the white circuit. I've still got 3 circuits free, and I think that is one really big selling point for these Moto lights. So now it's a case of setting them up. That means a lead plugging into here, into the laptop, and let's go away and have a look at what's involved there. Okay, so we've got the EZCan software open here. This is how I've got it set up. So with the daytime running light, we're at 100% intensity for day and night, but it's not a particularly bright light. It is only a daytime running light. It's just there to give you a little bit of extra visibility. You can switch that from white to amber. I like the white because it matches in with the halo lights on the Africa Twin, and you can get that to flash amber with the turn signals, which I've got set up to give you an idea of what it looks like in amber. And then you've got the wide narrow part of the light, but you can get those to switch off when that's indicating. So if you've got, say, the bottom 4 on as floodlights and you indicate, it will turn those off just to make the indication a little bit clearer. Now, people say that the DRL is not particularly bright. I've had a couple of people say that, but from my point of view, that is exactly what it is. It's a daytime running light, same as you get on many bikes. It's just an extra bit of glow. What you could do, of course, for this is to set the intensity at, say, 5%, and then you've got a daytime running light which has got a little bit more visibility than maybe the white bit. Inverse flashing when hazards are active, that's straightforward. Again, with these, you can have it to strobe when the horn is active. So if you bib the horn, you can also have strobe on flash to pass. But as far as I'm aware, strobing lights are not legal in the UK, so I have those off completely. So when you flick on full beam, I've got everything set at 100%. What I can do is set, you know, the lower bits at 10%, and then they go to 100% of main beam. For me, I think that is enough of a running light. Link wide with narrow, so again, you can split those up if you want to, but for full beam, you're going to want everything. And then you've got only when engine running at the bottom. Bit of a battery saver, the lights will only come on when the engine is running. That's self-explanatory. The other option we have here is that for that middle spot, and you can have what they call speed blending. So this will turn on when the high beam is on and the vehicle is at a particular speed. So if you're going down a country lane, for example, at 30 miles an hour, you don't want that big long reach of the center spot, you can set this so that as your speed picks up, then that spot will come on and push the light much further down the road. So if you want to change this in the extra settings, you can go in and change what that speed is. For me, I just want that on all the time. If I've got main beam on, I might as well have the extra throw. So when you first plug it in, you have to set the Moto lights up on the white circuit. So if you select the white circuit, you can see the EZBus devices, and there you can see it will show you the motorcycle lights and the serial number, what the firmware is. And the fact that you can do all of this, each one of these individual bits is all done through one cable, I think is fantastic. So that is it. Pretty straightforward, but the proof is in the pudding. So let's just get out and give it a quick test. I'm not going to go into loads of details and go through every single setting and every mode, because I don't necessarily think that's that important. For me, the benefit of these lights, if they offer the same sort of coverage that the Denalis do, is that connection and that controllability through one wire. So I'm not necessarily comparing the performance of the two sets of lights, either of which I'm pretty sure you would be happy with. If you want to see a more highly detailed sort of comparison between the two sets of lights, then there's plenty of stuff out there. Steve at A Bike Thing does really good stuff like that. I've not picked the right day particularly because it is now just started to rain, so apologies if you can't see that clearly. But this is just the Honda lights in dipped, and we've got the cornering lights just coming on there, which work really well. And then we'll get up here and we'll give it a shot of main beam, and well, there's the difference. We can see that center spot just punching through, but you can see that's giving me a real length down there. The wide beam is pushing it out to the side, so I've got loads of lighting out to the side, That is fantastic. I think on paper the D7 Pros have got a little bit more power, there's more lumens there, but in reality, can you really tell the difference between the two? I don't know. I think you're splitting hairs. But I mean, God, if that's not enough light for you, I don't know what you need. Both offer unbelievable power with everything on. The difference is how you want to set that up. If you're not worried about having spare circuits, then the D7s, you can use up all 4 circuits on your EZCan, or 3 circuits as I had them wired up, and utilise the easy switch, and then you can add additional bits and pieces to that. Or if you intend to add some other accessories but don't want to use that easy switch and don't feel the need for it, then the Motolights give you the ability to have everything controlled through the one wire. So it's not a case of saying one set of lights are better than the other, it just depends on what you need. Yeah, I think that gives plenty of visibility. The DRLs aren't like, they're not going to upset anybody in terms of blinding drivers oncoming. But I think in the white they look really nice because they tie in with the halo lights on the Africa Twin. Let's put the indicator on. I suppose one other thing to consider is on the D7 Pros, if you are utilising that indicator in the middle, then your main beam is only going to be the 4 outer lights. You could have them all come on as a main beam, so including the indicator ones, but if you've got the orange lenses on, then obviously you get an orange tint to that main beam through those centre lights, which is not necessarily going to be a problem. With this, they run independently to the other 4 main beams, so that's not an issue you're going to have. These are just superb. So I think that's enough of a demonstration. Before that rain comes down any heavier, I'm going to make my way back home to wrap up. Right, so let's just finish off. As I said earlier, this video was never intended to be a comparison between these lights and the Denalis and all of their features. That's a completely different approach to what I've taken. All I wanted to show was these lights being fitted, the difference on how they connect to the EZCan, and then the difference in the control that you have through that software to be able to set these lights up. And hopefully I've shown that for you. And I've also showed you how they perform out on the road. Now, performance wise, as I mentioned, I don't think it's going to be very easy to tell the difference between the two. And if you plump for one over the other, I'm pretty sure you will be blown away by the performance that you have. The question is, I guess, which set are going to stay on the bike. Now, ostensibly, I'm quite lazy, so by leaving these on means I don't have to change anything. But having said that, these would be the lights that I choose, not necessarily because of their performance, but because of that connectivity, the simple one lead connection, and also the ability to configure everything in here without having to snap on any extra lenses and those sort of things. Price wise, they're pretty similar. Each unit retails at about £300, so it's not a cheap setup by any stretch of the imagination. Having said that though, the quality is good, the build is robust, really nicely put together. For me, it's a good investment. I ride a lot in the country lanes. I'd like to ride at dusk and at night, so having these is an absolute godsend in terms of visibility. Really like these. I like the way they look, I like the way they work. So these are the lights that I'm going to keep on this bike and continue to run with. If you've got any questions about these lights or the D7s, then let me know in the comment section down below and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. And all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.